This video will be about the installation and configuration of a Windows server. And for this video, we will be using Windows Server 2012 R2. It's a newer version compared to the server that's being used by TESDA for their assessment, which is Windows Server 2008 R2. Pero ang pinagkaiba lang naman nila is yung interface, and almost the same pa rin ang concept ng configuration. The actual installation of the OS ay hindi ko na isinama kasi na-take up nyo na siya noong grade 11. But if you have any questions about the installation process, you can just let me know, okay? So, this is the interface of a Windows Server 2012 R2. And para magamit natin siya, kailangan nating i-click yung Server Manager icon. So, ito siya. Pag click natin siya, i-direct niya tayo sa graphical user interface ng ating Server Manager. So, ito siya ngayon, yung nakikita ninyo. And before we start the installation and the configuration of our server, we just have to kailangan lang may gawin tayong pre-installation procedures. Like, for example, the computer name, kailangan natin siyang bigyan ng computer name na madaling tandaan. Kasi as you can see, ang kanyang computer name ay mahirap kabisaduhin. So, gagamitin natin siya mamaya. And kailangan natin yung madaling tandaan na computer name. So, paano siya palitan? We simply click this instead of going to the traditional na right-click, computer properties. So, ngayon, click lang natin siya. And then, dadalhin niya tayo sa computer properties or system properties. Then change. And dito natin siya pwedeng palitan. So, lagyan natin siya ng pangalan na madaling tandaan. Sabihin natin server 1. Okay. And then take note also that by default, ang server natin ay member ng workgroup. Okay? Once naging fully configured server na siya, may changes na mangyayari dito. So, babalikan natin ito mamaya. So, for now, the changes that we did is the computer name and take note of the workgroup. Okay? So, another thing, every time you change a computer name, you will be asked to restart your system. Okay? So, after nito, after natin siya ma-rename, we will be asked to restart the computer. So, let's proceed. Okay, you must restart your computer to apply these changes. Okay? Then restart now. During loading like these, i-speed up ko na lang siya, no? Para hindi masyadong humaba yung video natin. Log in tayo as administrator. Then we're back sa ating Server Manager Graphical User Interface or yung GUI na tinatawag. Then let's check if we were able to successfully make the change. Okay, server 1. Now, next na importante din nating gawin is to make sure that our server is using a static IP address. You can do that by clicking this part right here. As you can see, it's currently, or the IP address is currently assigned by a dynamic host configuration protocol. Ibig sabihin, dynamic IP address ang gamit ng ating computer ngayon. So, click natin siya. And pagka-click natin, dadalhin niya tayo dito sa ating adapter settings, network adapter settings. So, double-click or right-click properties and then select properties. As you can see, we have IPv6 and IPv4. We won't be using IPv6, so leave lang natin siya as unchecked. And then click natin si IPv4 and then properties. And as you can see, our system is using dynamic IP. So to create a static IP address, click lang natin ito. Okay. And then let's use standard class C IP address 192.168.1.1. A class C subnet din. Default gateway, pwede natin yung gamitin as the same as the server. Preferred DNS 127.0.0.1. Then let's click OK. Close. Okay. Unlike yung pag-rename natin kanina, hindi naman tayo ipo-prompt para mag-restart every time we change an IP address. Okay? So ayun, dito na kagad yung changes dun sa ating inassign na IP address. Okay? So let's just refresh yung ating server manager. And then right now, we can now proceed with the actual configuration. So we'll be starting with the installation of the server roles. Okay? Ilang beses nabanggit ito sa modules ninyo, yung server roles, definition, types of server roles. But for today, we'll be doing the actual configuration and the installation of the server roles. So, saan tayo magsa-start? First, we will be installing the Active Directory Domain Services role. Okay? So, paano siya gagawin? We go to Manage, and then click Add Roles. Okay? Dito sa window na to, mga reminders lang ito before we start. So the administrator account should have a strong password, and the server must have a static IP address, which is ginawa na rin naman natin. So click next lang tayo dito. And then on this window, we select the role-based or feature-based installation, and then click next. Now, dito naman, we will be asked to select which server, kung saang server tayo mag-i-install ng Active Directory Domain Services. So, since isa pa lang naman yung server na naka-install sa atin, select lang natin ito. Okay? And then next. Okay. Now, ito ang list ng roles na pwede nating i-install sa ating server. So, as you can see, there's quite a number of them. So, nandyan si DHCP server, si DNS, print document services, remote desktop services. Ito yung mga i-install natin today. Ano? So again, we'll start off by installing the Active Directory Domain Services. Okay. Now, these are the features that needs to be installed also. So add features lang tayo dito. And then click next. Then another next. Okay. Another few reminders before we proceed with the installation. To help ensure that users can still log on to the network in the case of a server outage, install a minimum of 2 domain controllers. Now, after installing Active Directory Domain Services, we will be prompted to promote this machine or this computer into a domain controller. Now, ang reminder na to, sinasabi niya, kailangan 2 domain controller daw ang gawin natin para in case na mag-down ang ating unang domain controller, makaka-login pa rin yung ating mga users dun sa second domain controller. It acts as a backup or parang redundancy feature niya siya. So, para in case na mag-down nga yung isa, may magagamit pa tayo. So, that is the normal process para sa enterprise level businesses. But since we're just here to install and configure, gusto lang nating matutunan kung paano mag-install ng roles and ma-familiarize yung mga sarili natin dun sa environment ng isang server. So, isang domain controller lang ang gagawin natin. Next is Active Directory Domain Services requires a DNS server to be installed. So, kung mapapansin nyo kanina, ang una nating in-install na server role is yung Active Directory or yung i-install natin. So, I'll just ipapakita ko lang sa inyo. So, ito yon. So, mapapansin nyo, hindi pa natin ini-install yung DNS server. Okay? Walang problema dyan kasi mamaya naman, during the installation of Active Directory, madadaanan natin yan. I-install natin yan automatically. So, next lang tayo. So, yung number 2 na reminder, yun lang yun. So, para gumana daw yung ating server, kailangan merong DNS server. So, for now, next lang tayo dito para mag-proceed ang installation natin para sa Active Directory Domain Services. Okay, and then these are the selections, parang summary ng ating mga sinelect, and then install. While installing, explain ko na rin, magkaiba ang Active Directory sa Domain Controller. As per the definition dun sa inyong mga modules, Active Directory is just the database wherein it stores all the information of the users, the computers, and groups, all the information. Nandun lang siya. So basically, it's just really a database. Whereas the domain controller uses those information within the Active Directory. So siya ang nagmamanage ng users, ng computers, domain controller nagmamanage ng security, authentication ng users, so everything. So kaya that's the reason why we need to promote or create this computer as a domain controller. So more on that as we go through the process of the configuration. Okay? So we have successfully configured or installed the Active Directory Domain Services. And as you can see, dito pa lang, may note na tayo na promote this server to a domain controller. Okay? For now, let's just click close. And mapapansin ninyo, meron tayong notification dito sa bandang taas. This is another reminder that we need to promote this server to a domain controller. Okay? So, sige, i-promote natin yung ating server into a domain controller. Just click. Okay. So, ang mga susunod dito is a series of mga ganitong windows and I'll try to explain everything, okay? Now, for this selection, we are asked to select the deployment operation ng ating server. So, first option is add a domain controller to an existing domain. Since we still don't have a domain, so hindi natin pwedeng i-select ito. Next is a new domain to an existing forest. So, since first server nga natin ito, first domain controller itong ginagawa natin, ibig sabihin, wala pa rin tayong existing forest. By the way, forest, as also defined in your modules, is a collection of domains. So, lahat ng domain na pinagsama-sama, ang tawag sa kanya is forest. So, ito yun. So, since wala naman tayong forest pa, yun ang una natin gagawin. Add a new forest. Okay? Now, if we'll be adding a new forest, tatanungin niya tayo for a root domain name. So, dito, ikaw as administrator ang mag-a-assign ng root domain name. So, let's say css.net. Okay, so ito ang ating magiging root domain name. So, makikita natin ito mamaya once successfully natin siya na-install, okay? But for now, let's just leave it at this and then click next. Okay. Dito sa window na to naman ay tinatanong tayo for the functional level ng ating server. So pag sinabing functional level, dito tinatanong kung ano yung mga server operating system na pwedeng isupport ng ating forest at ng ating server. So sa forest functional level, since hindi naman tayo gagamit ng mga lumang server like 2008, let's just leave this at 2012 R2. Same with the domain functional level, leave lang natin siya sa 2012 R2. By the way, the domain functional level ay hindi pwedeng mas mababa kaysa dun sa forest functional level, okay? Next is to specify the domain controller capabilities. So, ito yung sinasabi natin. Kahit hindi natin in-install kanina yung DNS server, ipoprompt niya tayo to install talaga siya. Okay? So, okay lang kahit hindi natin siya i-click kanina. Isinelect kanina dun sa pagpili ng server roles na i-install. Next is the global catalog. By default, dapat may isa talagang global catalog na naka-install sa ating server. So, that's the reason bakit hindi natin siya ma-unselect. Ano? So, purasahan, kailangan naka-install ang global catalog. Another grayed out na selection is yung read-only domain controller or yung RODC. Ngayon, ang reason naman dito, ang first domain controller kasi natin na i-install ay hindi pwedeng naka-read only. Ano? Kaya hindi natin siya pwedeng ma-select. Pero yung mga succeeding installation, pwede na i-select yan, yung RODC. Pwede na silang read only. Okay? So, yun yung purpose niyang tatlong yan. Next, we are also asked for a services restore mode or yung directory services restore mode. This is if in case mag-down ang ating server, ito yung way natin para ma-recover natin siya. So let's assign a password. Then click next. Okay. This error will always present itself. So a delegation for this DNS server cannot be created because the authoritative parent zone cannot be found. Sinasabi lang niya na wala pang naka-install na DNS server sa atin. So this is normal. We could just click next. Okay? Verify the net BIOS name assigned to the domain and change it if necessary. So ito yung FQDN na in-assign natin kanina, yung fully qualified domain name, which is CSS. So let's just leave it at this and then click next. Okay. Ngayon naman, specify the location of Active Directory Domain Services Database. So sabi nga natin, si Active Directory is a database. So dito tinatanong niya kung saan natin gustong i-save yung mga information na yon. So again, default lang natin ito. Click next. Then a summary of the selections na ginawa natin. So global catalog yes, DNS server yes. And the database location. So pagdating dito, next lang din. Okay, all prerequisite checks passed successfully. Click install to begin installation. So, click tayo sa install. And then yung progress ng installation ay makikita natin dito. Bibilisan na lang ulit natin, forward natin para hindi masyadong matagal yung ating installation. Okay, as you can see, nabago na yung ating login username. Ano? Nagkaroon na siya ng CSS and then \administrator. So, yung CSS natin, ito na yung ating tinatawag na domain. So, login tayo. Yung password naman nito is same pa din. Okay, then let's just wait for it to load. Now, mapapansin niyo yung Active Directory, Domain Services, and DNS ay nandito na ngayon sa ating dashboard. So, kanina wala itong dalawang to. Now, isa pang titignan natin or i-check natin is yung ating computer name kanina. Domain controllers cannot be moved from one domain to another. They must be first demoted. So, parang alert lang to na hindi natin pwedeng baguhin yung configuration niya as domain papuntang workgroup. Okay, so kanina 'di ba naka-work group siya. So ngayon nung in-install natin yung Active Directory Domain Services and then i-promote natin siya into a domain controller, kinuha niya yung FQDN or yung domain name na ginawa natin, which is css.net. Ngayon, ano ang kahalagahan nito? Ibig sabihin, lahat ng user na gagawin natin, magkakaroon siya ng @css.net sa dulo. So, halimbawa, gagawa tayo ng Mendoza J na username. Ang magiging domain name niya is mendozaj@css.net. So, yun yung halaga nito. Yun yung tinatawag nating domain. Okay? So, what else? So, that's it. Bale, yun muna yung ating magiging focus for today. We've successfully installed the Active Directory Domain Services na role, and then we were able to promote our server into a domain controller. So, itong domain controller natin na to, pwede na siyang gumawa ng users, and then pwede na tayong mag-provide ng access, and then pwede na rin tayong mag-deny ng access ng mga folders para sa specific users. Now, ang pag-create ng users and other roles will be on the following videos kasi masyadong hahaba yung ating magiging videos. Okay? So, that's it for now. Just review this video, and if you ever have questions, just send me a message and don't hesitate to ask questions. Okay? That's it. Thank you.